Allahu, 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 Allah. Allahu, 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 Allah. Allahu, 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 Allah. Allahu, 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 Allah.
ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار.
It's good to, we're here to talk about the cultural clash between Islamic values, Islamic culture, and the cultures that we bring from our backgrounds, our countries, our ethnic origins. Relative term. What is culture is not determined by what is imposed, but what is evolved. Culture is acquired because of your birth, where you live, whom you share a space with. You could be ethnically and genetically African, but if you are raised in Sri Lanka, you'll be Sri Lankan in your culture and your behavior. You could be genetically white European, but if you're brought up in India, you'd behave like an Indian. So culture is very relative and is contextual to the environment in which you live. The problem begins when you don't realize the shift. So you've all come from Sri Lanka and many parts of South India. South India as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, both the countries. And you've lived here for 10, 15, 20 years. And you still haven't realized, actually I'm no longer in Sri Lanka. I'm not in Colombo. I am in the UK, in London, in Leicester, in Birmingham. When you don't realize the change and don't shift with the change, that's when culture becomes a problem. And what I want to talk about today is some of those cultural conflicts that young people face and the ones that I faced when I was growing up. I don't know much about Sri Lankan culture, but I can tell you about my own. My parents are Bangladeshi, of course. Brought up in that family environment. We had Bangladeshi culture prevalent in our day-to-day living. The other day I went to a restaurant to eat some food with a white Englishman. Great friend of mine. We went to Tayyib's restaurant in Whitechapel. You know Tayyib's restaurant? Just behind Islamic Mosque. We were eating food. And I called the waiter and I said, "What did you put in this food?" He goes, "Why?" I said, "Look at me, I'm sweating buckets, it's too hot." He looked at me and he looked at my white English friend. And he said to me, "Excuse me sir, where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Bangladesh." He goes, "Where is this white man from?" I said, "This white man is from Britain." He goes, "Then you are a disgrace to the Indians." He told me this in my face. And I asked him why. He goes, "You're an Indian and you can't eat chili food. But the white man can." This is a small example of how, if you insist on a cultural value as the universal culture, it can be a problem. A white man became Muslim one day, I remember, in his town. He called the Imam, he came to become Muslim. Once he had become Muslim, the Imam, he wanted to become Muslim, so Imam took him to the front row and told him to say, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah," in front of the congregation of 300 people. And he did. Everyone hugged him, kissed him, welcomed him. Later on, when somebody asked him, "Can you please describe to us your experience of becoming Muslim?" And this is what he had to say. He said, "When I became Muslim, I was forced to say or declare the words of God in front of a huge crowd I'm not used to. I was willing to declare the faith, and that's what I went for. But I didn't expect it to be in front of 300 people. I expected maybe a couple of people. I was petrified, in fact. And then I was told to utter a few words in foreign language that I had never ever heard before. And the Imam insisted on correcting my accent every time I've made a mistake. Usually when a convert embraces Islam, they get stuck in ashhadu. They can't say ashhadu as we can. So they say ashhadu, or they'll get stuck. Or ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. And if you can't say illallah properly, Muslims get upset. It's Allah's name, for God's sake. Say it properly. And he was saying Allah, Allah, and Imam kept on disturbing him, interrupting him, saying, no, it's not Allah, it's Allah. Say Allah. And the poor boy was petrified. So he was describing his experience. He was, I was petrified. And then after that, once I had done this, the whole mosque were roaring in thunder. I was saying, Takbir, Allahu Akbar. And he thought to himself, he'd done something wrong. Why are they screaming so loudly in the mosque? Why are their hands up in the air with the fist showing to the sky? Because this, for an Englishman, is a sign of communist revolution. Why are the Muslims doing this, saying, Takbir Allahu Akbar? What is Takbir Allahu Akbar as far as it's concerned? He didn't know. I'll tell you a story about Takbir Allahu Akbar later on. And then he said, once I'd finished, hundreds of people lined up to hug me and kiss me. I've not kissed so many people in my life. Especially men. Then the Imam called his wife after prayers and took me to his house. And he served me food. And I had to call fire brigade almost afterwards. It was so hot. I suffered for 3 days. Imam then gave me a gift, a shalwar kameez, the Pakistani dress, and insisted that I must wear it there and then, because a Muslim who gets a gift should display his gift to his friends. So he took me to his house, put me in a bathroom, and I changed my clothes, and I came out, and I had to show him how I look. And the Imam said, MashaAllah, what a wonderful plan. Now you look Pakistani, the Imam said. So his experience of becoming Muslim was to become Pakistani first. Not Muslim first, but Pakistani first. And that's the problem in culture. Some of us take culture too seriously, too far. This white Englishman, why couldn't he be English and Muslim? Why did he have to go through that ordeal in order to embrace Islam? Is Islam so Asianified that we can't embrace anybody else? Well, Rasulullah had companions who were from Rome. Suhail al-Rumi. He had companions who were from Habasha, Ethiopia. Bilal al-Habashi. He had Salman al-Farisi from Persia in Iran today. He had companions from all parts of the world who had embraced Islam, from the Arabs to anyone else. And he was the magnanimous prophet. He made it easy for everyone to culturally fuse together without having to become an Arab, or without feeling inferiority complex dominating them. What did he say? He said, anyone who speaks Arabic is an Arab. In other words, you can actually gain the local identity by merely learning the language. Subhanallah. That's a universal declaration that humanity needs. That for you to be accepted and become part of the society, all you need to do is speak the language. Now I don't want to ask you this question. How many of us actually speak English? I'm sure you do, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to me. But it is a struggle, isn't it? And when we do speak English, it is a strong accented English. Our children laugh even when we speak. They say, Dad, what are you saying? Say that again, please. Mommy, come on, don't say that. That's not how you pronounce it. Would you believe my 8-year-old daughter now, I've taught her English. She starts correcting me, saying, Daddy, that's not how you say things. I tell her, darling, it's okay. I think I know English. It's okay with children. But the truth is, it took us a long time to understand English. When I was growing up, I remember Dr. Bari was around at that time. You remember Dr. Bari, my struggle with the language problems? When in East London Mosque, when we were hanging around, I used to struggle all the time. In fact, I used to be so vociferous and vocal. Some people didn't like it. I used to say, stop talking in Bangla. I only want to understand what's going on in English. I'm not interested in Bangla. I speak very fluent Bangla. I write and I read Bangla. I have no problem in the language itself. But I'm in Britain. I have to think about my local context. You would find this quite embarrassing for yourself, but if you meet me in public, and if you start talking to me in language that is foreign, I won't respond to you in that language. Many Bengali brothers, when they meet me in different cities, I'm with people of different cultures. They'll come, Assalamu alaikum, brother Ajmal, how are you? And they start speaking to me in Bangla. I would always respond in English. And somebody complains saying, why are you speaking in English? Don't you speak Bangla? I would tell them, no, I speak Bangla. But other people around are being excluded by you speaking Bangla to me when they don't understand it. That's what we call discrimination, not actively but passively. Without really meaning discrimination, you are doing something that is excluding other people from engaging with you. Culture becomes a problem when you're not aware and spatially aware of your surroundings. Culture becomes a problem when you become focused and so fixated by your own superiority that you look at nobody else as equal. Culture is a problem when you think you're the only culture that should survive. That's how Michael Gove talks. You know, the education secretary? He wants to teach you and I values. What kind of values do you want to teach? Neo-conservative value which says dominate the world, invade the foreign countries, support dictators and despots. That's not Islam and that's not British value for certain. We know that. This is not British value. That's Michael Gove's own value. I told Michael Gove on his face, you can stuff your values, I don't want them. You can have them back, mister. As me, as Muslim, as British as you can get, I believe my culture and my value has evolved because of where I live. My British ideas and identities. So I want to talk about some of those clashes I have and I had when I was growing up. An internal struggle that we have with Islam and our own culture. I remember when I was a younger man, I'm still young, alhamdulillah, younger man, my father told me that I must put a hat on my head to pray. And I said, no, I'm not going to put a hat on my head to pray because prayer has nothing to do with hat. Now please, some parents, you're looking uncomfortable. You're saying, oh my God, he's giving license to rebel to our children now. Well, I am giving them license to rebel because why are you imposing it on them? Why are you imposing it on them? Does it come from the religion? No. No, brother, covering your head is sunnah. So is uncovering your head. Are you telling me Rasulullah head is covered 24 hours a day? No, he must have uncovered sometimes. And if he had uncovered it sometimes, his actions, his deeds, and his approvals are sunnah. So uncovering it is also sunnah. It's like somebody said to me, brother, long hair up to your shoulder with a funny back straight is a sunnah. So I told him, no, sunnah is to have it short, have it shaven, have it medium size. Rasulullah was not born with long hair. Hair grew over stages. So don't limit the idea of what is religion and what is not religion by what is your cultural value. If you prefer to wear a hat, go ahead, good luck. No problem, that's your choice. But don't sell it to me as religion because it is not religion. For me, religion comes from the practices of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is of course outlined in the Quran as parameters laid out by Allah. So whatever we do, if it's not measured by the Quran, especially in the realms of religion, in the realms of ibadat and aqidah worship, as well as our faith, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. If it's your culture, if I like it, I'll embrace it. If I don't like it, I'll leave it. Why can I not be, I'm quite radical in these things, and most people know. I lead Jum'ah. I remember in one Jum'ah, I came into the masjid and I was wearing a long dress, long clothes. In the middle of my khutbah, I took my clothes off. And I threw it on the floor. And I said to the congregation, this cloth that I've just taken off, I'm only wearing it because of you. I could be doing the Jum'ah, I could be leading Jum'ah with my suit and tie, with not a problem when it comes to Islam whatsoever. But you, on the other hand, you're so insistent in your value that unless I wear this, I'm not a good enough Imam for you. Where does it come from? And the congregation was absolutely stunned and silent. They didn't know what to say. Of course they don't know what to say, because it's a challenge that they have. I remember coming into the masjid one day, and my daughter was about 18 months old, very young. And I love bringing my children to the masjid, so I had her with me on a sling. So she was on me on a sling, and I was delivering the khutbah from the pulpit. And everyone was looking at me thinking, oh my God, what is this? Why is this Imam carrying a baby? He's supposed to be giving a khutbah. What is his wife? Somebody said to me. Somebody said to me, brother, would you like my wife to look after your child? I said, no, this is my child. I'm the father. But you're the Imam. What do you mean? Imams can't be the fathers? Rasulullah was amazing, wasn't he? When he was in Sajda and Hussein was on his back, remember the story? He was in Sajda for a very long time and he didn't move. And the companions behind thought, okay, revelation must be coming down. When wahi comes down, Rasulullah could prolong a prayer. They are used to this. He didn't move for a long time. And when he finished the prayer, they asked, Ya Rasulullah, why did you prolong the prayer so much? Which verse of the Quran Allah revealed to them? Please give us the good news. Rasulullah looked at them saying, no, there were no verses. Hussein was on my back and he was playing. And I didn't want to disturb Hussein. And look at the culture and look at the value Rasulullah had and the ones that we have. When our children make a bit of noise in the mosque, we scream at, why, get out. Go to the back row, we push them at the back. Why? Oh brother, the prayer is invalid and incomplete if the children are with you. What? If the children are unruly and running around in the mosque, your prayer is more valid? How silly. Absolutely silly. So these cultural values must be challenged. And we need to create a culture that is Islamic, that is contextual in the country in which we live, that is both beneficial for everybody, and most importantly, applicable to our children. Imposition of a cultural value that you bring from home will only push your children further away. However, if you teach them Islamic values, which are universal, and they apply to wherever they go, they will come closer to you. Inshallah, they'll be closer to you. They will come to you every day. They will realize actually Islam is an embracing, amazing, inclusive religion. I can be a Muslim and I can be a British, I can be this, I can be that. It's not a problem. And this brother, Jamaican brother, he came up to me, goes to me, yo bro. Comes up to me, yo bro. I said to him, yeah. He goes, blood, how are you? I said, I'm alright, blood. He goes to me, you're that Imam, aren't you, blood? You're that Imam. I said to him, yeah, I'm that Imam. He goes, you come on TV, blood, you don't know. I was looking at him thinking, what is he talking about? And there were other people around who were looking very uncomfortable. You don't talk to an Imam like this. How dare you talk to an Imam like this? And I told them afterward, relax. That's his culture. That's the way street kids talk nowadays. Let him talk to me. Let me be approachable. Let him come to me feeling at home without worries. They already complain I speak with too much of a posh accent. So I want to be able to be inclusive. I want to be able to bring those people closer together. So creating that cultural fusion is essential. So here is what we should do in Britain when it comes to our culture and creating a fusion. For all your programs, English should not be a department on the side. All your programs should only be in English. Side programs should be in other languages for people who don't understand English. If you don't do that, you won't create a cultural reality for you and your community in this country. And I know this could be sounding quite difficult, but hear me out very carefully. If language is a gift from Allah, He says in the Quran, Ar-Rahman, Allama al-Quran, Khalaqa al-Insan, Allamahu al-Bayan. Allah is Ar-Rahman. He is the one who has given you the Quran out of mercy. He has created humanity, and He has given you bayan, abilities to speak. I was in a mosque, I was in a workplace, and two people were fighting, arguing. A Pakistani guy and an Arab guy. Just listen to this story. The Arab guy and Pakistani guy were really arguing very badly. So the Pakistani guy eventually got very mad with the Arab. He said, you Bedouin, go back to where you come from. You Bedouins are always going to be backwards. You will never progress. You think you've got petrol, you've got big buildings, it still doesn't make you civilized. He became very abusive, this Pakistani brother. He was angry and angry and angry. Eventually the Arab brother lost his cool and looked at him and goes to the Pakistani guy, you're complaining and blaming me and Arab? Do you know the language of the Quran is Arabic? Do you know the language of Allah is Arabic? Do you know the language of our Prophet is Arabic? Do you know the language of Jannah is Arabic? And do you know the language of Jahannam is Urdu? I was not very far away. I jumped up straight away. I moved them away. I knew it was going to be World War III in a minute. All languages come from Allah Azza wa Jalla. Isn't that right? Allah has given all languages. And He understands them in every language you speak. Allah Azza wa Jalla understands any language. Everything. Even those who don't have language. The deaf brothers. You are familiar with the deaf brothers who don't know how to speak but they have sign language? You think Allah understands sign language? Of course Allah understands. He's Allamul Ghuyub. He knows about the unseen. He knows what is in our heart before you even say it. Why discriminate a language? Why give superiority of a language? Why? Especially in the context in which you live. So you are to start rethinking your work. English must be the only medium in which you do all your activities and programs. Anything for those who don't understand, or a speaker who doesn't speak English, that's a different story. You translate and make it available. So you begin to create a culture that is contextual and local. Number one, speak English, interact with English. I'm not saying you should not do it in your own language. I'm not saying that. I'm saying in your private space, of course you speak any language you like. But the collective language of this country is English. For as long as we behave foreign, my brothers and sisters, you'll remain foreigner. For as long as you think you're a foreigner, others will treat you as a foreigner. Remember, I asked you this question about 6-7 years ago. How many of you are Sri Lankan? Remember that question I asked you? How many of you are English or British? And how many of you are whatever? And I remember the answers you gave me. Majority of you put your hands up as Sri Lankans first, and then reluctantly British. No, you're British, this is your home. In fact, the last 10-15 years I've seen, you haven't gone back to Sri Lanka, have you? Only for holidays to Colombo for a few days and come quickly running. I can't take these mosquitoes anymore. It's too hot, I'm going back to England. That's what you do, right? This is your home, you're not going anywhere. My father said the same thing in 1956 when he came to Britain. I'm going back to Bangladesh in 10 years' time. It's 2014 and he's still here. He hasn't gone very far. I pray Allah gives him long life, inshallah. For our parents are wonderful. They've done a great job in bringing us to a country of opportunities, and we've made a good start. And inshallah, you are doing the same thing for your children and your family. But please try to create an environment where they feel comfortable with their identity. And when you create the language as the starting point, the identity becomes the second and the most important feature of creating that cultural transition. Identity of your children. Ask your children, what do they feel comfortable in? I struggled when I was growing up. Am I Bangladeshi? Am I British? What should I do when my friends are laughing at me when I speak in foreign language? What should I do? What should I do? It's difficult because you're pushed constantly between two cultures. Your parents are pulling you in one direction, your friends are pulling you in the other direction. And this duality or two identities, two faces is not very good for your mental well-being or your physical well-being. Many children behave too different as when they go out with their mates and when they're at home. And this has to be eliminated as soon as possible. You're one person. That unity that you need to have within you, comfortable in your identity. You're British, you're Sri Lankan, that's okay. You are Muslim, no problem. All of those identities are not mutually exclusive, they complement one another. How do you create that complementary environment in which the children can have that many identities but fused into one comfortable, confident identity? If the target for you and I is to create confident Muslims for tomorrow, I believe you need to start thinking about how identities have been taken and are evolving within your children. Ask your children, do they feel Sri Lankan? Do they feel British? Don't be shocked if they say they feel more Sri Lankan. I asked my daughter, and what are you? She goes to me, I'm English, daddy. I said, but your daddy is Bangladeshi, your mummy is Hungarian, you can't be English. She goes, no, I'm English. I said, but how do you become English? Just watch. Watch the conversation. She's very young, now 8. I was having this conversation when she was 5. She said to me, I'm English. I said, why are you English? She goes, I speak English. I was born in English. She goes to me, I was born in the hospital just around the corner, daddy. How else can I think? I'm English. And I'm very proud that she feels that way. I'm very proud that she has an identity with which she is very comfortable. I have no problem. I don't feel hurt. Oh my God, she's not taking my Bangladeshi culture. The whole world has come to an end. Some parents feel that way, don't they? I have had parents come and say, oh, my children don't speak any Sri Lankan. Brother, that's the end of my world. Why? Your world is so limited. Don't worry about it. Give them the confidence to be good Muslim. But if they want to take a local identity, let them do that. It's not an issue at all. It should not be a problem. So language and identity, the two very important steps in creating a culture that is balanced and not in conflict. Number 3, expression. Your anecdotes, your stories, the way. The example I'll give you in 2 seconds. I want you to start thinking. I asked somebody, in which language do you dream? Ask yourself this question. Which language do you dream? Or even better, for those of you who are native to Sri Lanka, I ask you this question. Which language do you make dua in? You put your hands up, you don't know Arabic, so you're making dua. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, give me the best of this world and the hereafter. When I was doing this dua, my father said to me, "That sounds very strange, my boy." I said, "Why?" He goes, "You do dua in Urdu or Bengali or in Arabic. Why are you doing it in English?" So I said, "Well, Dad, my dua in English is not going to be accepted." He goes, "No, it's going to be accepted." Then I laughed at him. I said to him, "You mean my dua in the eyes of Allah is going to be somewhat person I'm talking about?" So if you're going to live in this country, there'll come a time when you'll slowly evolve your identity to probably converse in both in your local language and English. You probably mix them up. I'm pretty certain when you're having one sentence, four of the words are in Sri Lankan and 10 of them are in English. As normally it happens. That's not a problem. But for your children, don't monitor their expressions and get offended when they start using the local anecdotes and stories as part and parcel of their expressions. Their friends, their thinking. So they're talking about films within the British context. They're supporting English team. How many of you are supporting English team in the World Cup? Only one. You haven't got a choice. How many of you are supporting Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka is not playing World Cup. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Why? So it's your choice who you support. I agree, I understand. But don't be surprised if your children are fully supporting English. I was watching the game and I felt very upset when English lost. I felt upset because my expression, my anecdote, my connection, my expression, remember, is so localized that I take great affinity and pride in English team. Not necessarily everything that they do, but in the football, I wanted them to win. I wanted them to win. Jumbos don't go and fall for any of this rubbish. They are complete rubbish. They have nothing to do with Islam. They come from culture. They come from places where Islam it has nothing to do with Islam. I was reading a book the other day in Bangla. And it's a disgraceful book as far as I'm concerned. The writer had written the 99 names of Allah and the benefits of 99 names of Allah. And in his writing he wrote, if you read this name of Allah 10,000 times, your earning will get 20 times increase. If you read this name of Allah, your life will be prolonged. If you read this name of Allah, you'll be fertile and have more children. If you read this name of Allah, your love for your wife will increase. And I was reading this and saying, what on earth, where did he get this from? So I looked for evidence. There was no evidence whatsoever. Can you imagine our Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying this? Can you imagine it? No, because we know Quran, the first word of revelation, is read, and reading eliminates superstitious mumbo jumbo. This is superstitious mumbo jumbo. We don't accept them, and yet these are available in our books. Cultural clash against Islam, nothing to do with Islam. The other day, an imam was arguing with me after I had given a talk. Somebody asked me from the floor, "Brother, do man and woman pray the same way?" I said, "Yes." The imam was very upset. He goes, "No, man and woman pray differently." Why should they pray differently? Was Prophet a woman? No. Muhammad, was he a woman? No. He was a man. And he taught prayers. Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Pray like you see me praying. Why should man and woman pray differently? He goes to me, biologically they're looking different. So I said to him, so you're sexualizing prayer? You sick man. That's sickness in the mind, nothing to do with Sharia. Can you see where how deep cultures can go? Cultures can take you to commit shirk. Cultures can make you rely on the verses of the Quran or the numbers that they write on a piece of paper and hang it around your neck. That's shirk. Cultures can take you to kufr if you're not very careful. As long as you are careful and embrace the goodness of the culture, it's okay. But if you're not careful, you could be in big trouble. So for you, as you develop your thoughts, read and understand that instinctively you know something is uncomfortable. I remember going to a gathering where a peer in Asian countries, they call it peer. Is it the same within Sri Lanka? What do you call them in Sri Lanka? Huh? Murid? The murid is the disciple. What about the boss? Sheikh, okay. So the sheikh came in and they put a bowl of food and they told the sheikh to spit on the food. So I said to them, what is this for? He goes, he's blessing the food. I said, tell the sheikh to eat his food, I'm not touching it. I saw it with my own eyes. It's crazy. There's nothing to do with Islam. This is from the superstition that our background, Hindu culture, that gives us that superstition. We don't believe in that. So Islamic culture is very, very defined. and they're universal. Every culture is good as long as they don't contradict Islam. Do you understand? That's the only measure. If something contradicts the essence of Islam, what is this? Tawheed, oneness of Allah, the purity of Allah. If it contradicts, you reject them. If it brings bid'ah in your worship, you reject them. If it creates you to become more superstitious, you reject them. Somebody said to me the other day, "Can I see your hand, please?" "Why?" "I want to see the marks on your hand." I said, "And what will you give? What will you know?" "I will know whether you will live long or short, etc." I said, is it that easy? I remember a story somebody told me that in Bangladesh, in one corner of the street, one man was reading people's palms. It's a long line, and this man was sitting there making all sorts of mumbo-jumbo expressions and all sorts of silly things he was doing. And everyone who came, they would give him their left hand, and he would just look, and he would say something, and they would give him some money and go. So there was a brother who was lining up, and he was thinking, okay, I'm gonna see what he does. So he came in and gave his left hand, and with his right hand gave him a massive slap on his face. So he raised his hand. "What do you do that for?" Because if you truly can tell the future, how comes he didn't know my slap was coming? And as it happened in Bangladesh, everyone else beat him up and ran away. Just use your brain for a second. Somehow, because of culture, we suspend our intellect when it comes to religion. We don't use our brain anymore. We somehow say, oh, when it comes to religion, don't use the brain. But when it comes to medicine, when it comes to IT, when it comes to my house, I'll use my brain all the time. But on religion, no. This is wrong. This is what defies our Islamic culture. We need to come back to the root. The root is our religion is based on a clear, defined parameter. But the broadness of it is so amazing that it embraces everything, unless they contradict. If it contradicts, then you reject it. So to finish off, I'm very comfortable in being a Muslim. Very, very comfortable. There is nothing about my faith that I'm comfortable with. There is nothing about my British identity that I'm uncomfortable with. Nothing whatsoever. I'm absolutely comfortable in all of those. I'm very comfortable of being Bangladeshi. Absolutely no problem. Except the chili food. But then that's not just Bangladeshi. I can't put any food upstairs. Sri Lankan food. I ate one meat, my God, it was an explosion instantly. But the dal was very nice. The lentils was very nice. But that's okay, that's my choice. Somebody may like chili, it's not an issue. Because it's universal. It's okay. What is not okay is to impose your value on mine. I'm talking about cultural value. Don't impose, but create the moderate, the middle ground that you and I have to dominate, and you and I have to navigate through in order to keep our children together, inshallah. So to finish, let me share with you a quick personal story about my own life. My father told me when I was younger that you should only marry somebody from Bangladesh. I told him, no dad, I'll marry somebody who is a good Muslim. My father said, no, over my dead body, you're going to only marry Bangladeshi Muslims. So I said, Dad, you know what, I'm not going to go down that route. You're not going to die, and it's not going to be over dead bodies. I'm going to marry somebody who is good and decent as a Muslim. I'm not interested in what country they come from. So I know my father was very worried about that. It took a lot of hard work to change him. A lot of hard work to convince him that is culture and nothing to do with Islam. I was too young to get married. I was only 16. I was talking to my dad about it. Because I knew there would come a time when I would have this clash. Eventually, when I got married, I married a Hungarian. What did my father say? My father said to me, is she son of a human being? Now I want you to understand what it actually means. In Bangla it means a lot. In English it doesn't. Actually what he's saying, is she a good human being? Has she come from a good family? That's all he's interested in now. No longer over my dead body. He only wants to know, is she a good girl? My father now is 90. He suffers from dementia. He doesn't know anybody. He doesn't remember even me. He calls me his elder brother. But do you know what? Every time my wife goes to him, he knows. He says to me, oh, are you? And he calls her, in Bangla they call, in Bengali culture they call daughter-in-law in an affectionate way as a big mom. So he would say, are you my big mom here? And even though he's dementia sufferer, the only person he recognizes is this foreigner in a Bangladeshi home, a Hungarian who is married to his son. He recognizes that. It's taken a long, hard work, 10 to 15 years of trying to make him understand that the things that we are more valued, or things that we should be valuing more in this country, is the character, the personality, the beauty of Islam, the universal cultures and qualities that unite us, not the color, not the race, not the language, because that's a point of division. And I'm very grateful to my father that he has moved a long way. My mother, they've moved a long way. You'll be surprised. My family is married to all multicultural people. I'm married to a Hungarian, my brother to a Saudi, my sister married to a Czech Republic guy. So we've got the whole of the world in our house. We're looking for my younger brother to probably marry somebody from Africa, and maybe my sister to marry somebody Chinese, and then we're done. Either way, culture in Islam is so beautiful. Anyone defining culture in a narrow spectrum are doing disservice to Islam. Don't do a disservice to Islam in your practice. Embrace the beauty of culture that Allah says in the Quran. You have been created in different races and nations and cultures and tribes so that you will get to know one another. And then he says, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The best amongst you isn't the black against the white. The best amongst you isn't the brown against the white or black. It isn't the Arabs against the non-Arabs. The best amongst you is the one who is most Allah conscious. The most Allah conscious is the best. And that doesn't come from culture or color. It comes from conviction and faith. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Look to nature's beauty, dazzled am I, knowing everything calls on you, the Lord Most High.